Motoring 2009 on TSN is brought to you by the new Q horsepower from Quaker State. Unleash all your horses. And Michelin, a better way forward.
This week we're on Vancouver Island, and with its breathtaking views, it's almost enough for people to forget the tough economic times most are going through, and of course that includes the auto industry. But one car company would not like to be included in that group, thank you very much, and that car company is Hyundai. They have been all smiles recently, and for good reason. First, they're celebrating their 25th anniversary in this country. Second, sales in 2008 were up 17%, and if that's not enough, the Genesis was selected top North American car of 2008. So things have been pretty good, but Hyundai believes it's going to get much better with the introduction of the brand new 2009 Elantra Touring.
It's huge for us. The compact segment where the Elantra plays is almost 30% of the entire vehicle market in Canada. And 25% of that market is a five-door and a hatchback. And we haven't had one, and we do now. So that's another reason why we're very optimistic about 2009. We think we can make some inroads in the largest segment in the marketplace with what I think is the best five-door compact in the market.
Hyundai's on fire lately. I mean, they've got a full product line. They were talking this morning about how far they've come in the 26 years now that they've been in Canada, and really it's a completely different company. I mean, this car is basically right off the boat from Europe, so it's a good thing for them.
What Hyundai has to sell on, even today, 25 years after the Pony, is price. And they've got a good price story here. A fully loaded Elantra Touring is going to be in the low 20s, but you can get a totally stripped down model for about 15 plus taxes and destination and so on. That's not a bad price at all, and that was what will bring buyers into showrooms. Canadians, and we're in a recession, right? We shop price.
Well, it's been designed at the European Design Center in Germany, and it's a variation of the i30 wagon that's very popular in many European markets, as well as Australia and a few other markets around the world. It's a slightly extended wheelbase, which gives a little more cargo area and versatility for the North American buyer versus the Elantra sedan. There's one engine available. It's a 2-liter dual overhead cam 4-cylinder engine with variable valve timing. Puts out 138 horsepower and 132 pounds-feet of torque. There's 4 different models available, 4 different trim levels available. 5-speed manual transmission is available with all the trims. There's a 4-speed automatic transmission that is also available. Very smooth shifting transmission. Great match for the power plant in the car.
You know, all manufacturers like to put their car up against the competition. This Elantra Touring, the competition is the Mazda 3, the Matrix, and the Caliber. Now, when it comes to legroom, and there's plenty of legroom in the backseat of this car, according to Hyundai, this comes up number 1 in the segment. With cargo space, again, number 1. In fact, when you fold these seats down flat and you don't have to remove the headrest, there's tons of room in here. In fact, more than some mid-size sport utilities, including the Hummer.
When we got into the car this morning, and well, basically when we got the keys and we started walking around it, they're calling it compact, but if you look at the physical size of it, I mean, this thing's got to be bigger than the original Sonata, the original Accords, that sort of thing. It's a very large, compact vehicle. I would say almost mid-size.
And I think the key element here in terms of the vehicle itself, it is tuned probably to drive in a more sporty way than we're used to from Hyundai. You know, the sport version is a pretty firm riding vehicle and may not be the kind of vehicle that mainstream Canada wants. It may be that the less expensive touring model is the one that most buyers really like to go to, you know, Home Depot and Revy and those kinds of places.
I really like it. I mean, like I was saying, that you can really feel the European influence on it, right from the design to how it rides. It's got that sort of stiff European ride that you'd find in sort of like a BMW or a Mercedes or something like that, you know. Still playing high to the value equation with it, you know, $14,995 I think it is to get into it. And yeah, I think it's a nice machine.
The Elantra Touring has been around in Europe for a couple of years. It's known as the i30, and it was Car of the Year in Australia last year. But you know what? It's really an Elantra in name only. It's a brand new platform. It's not an Elantra sedan with a hatch on the back. So the question is, why call it an Elantra?
It costs a car company millions of dollars to introduce a new brand name. It's a smart move to bring in a vehicle using the same brand names, fits in the same compact class category as an existing model. They don't need to re-educate the consumer of what this vehicle represents. All they need to do is sell it on the packaging and the performance, which is what basically a station wagon version of the Elantra does.
They're going to fight hard though. Hyundai always does. That's been their big thing, right? Since over the last 5 years, is that they come in with these products that are just absolute home runs, and they really sort of scare the competition. So
people are now looking for value. It's important to people to make sure that their money is not being spent without a lot of thought in getting what they pay for. And certainly, if that's what people are thinking, then we have the equation for them. 5 years ago, Toyota and Honda weren't in our top 5 conquests. They are now. So we're starting to get through to people that never looked at Hyundai before, and that's what really encourages us.
Desperate times call for desperate measures. More later on Kenzie's Corner.
You know, Suzuki could legitimately lay claim to having invented the whole cute ute craze. On this rather damp edition of Test Drive, the latest Grand Vitara. The first thing that strikes one about the new Grand Vitara is that it's finally all grown up. The previous car was a tad too quirky for most. It also rides and drives way better than the earlier model. The fully independent suspension, sensibly sized 225/65R17 tyres, and the feel and feedback afforded by the steering is commendably good. On-road there's minimal body roll, and when the brakes are hammered the nosedive is suitably well controlled. Venture off-road and things are just as good. There's plenty of ground clearance and the suspension does a good job of taking the sting out of a gnarly trail. Of all of the improvements to the Grand Vitara, the interior is perhaps the most significant. Out go all of those cheap plastics of old, in come some very rich materials, especially the leather on the seats of this JLX model. Now if you go with this model, you get power everything, a very good radio, and a nice sunroof. It all comes together with an expensive feel that's well beyond the asking price of this Grand Vitara. With variable valve timing on the intake cam and a multi-stage intake manifold, Suzuki's new 2.4-litre engine pushes 166 horsepower and 162 pound-feet of torque at a relatively low 4,000 RPM. This is enough drive to deliver the type of performance demanded today and a towing capacity of 1,361 kilograms, which is almost twice as much as the Grand's key 4-cylinder powered competitors. The new engine is also a smooth operator that pulls well across a broad range. For many prospective customers, this is all the engine most will ever need. One of the things I really don't like about this Grand Vitara is the fact that you cannot turn off the electronic stability control program when you're in the normal on-road 4x4 setting. You actually have to lock the transfer case to turn it off. Now the problem with that is you should not drive this vehicle on dry pavement with the transfer case locked, at least if you don't want to damage the drivetrain. Yes, I know 99.9% of the time the ESP should be on. There are, however, times when it's best turned off. As the driver, I want to make that decision. The other complaint is that the 4-cylinder engine comes with a 4-speed automatic transmission. It should get the same 5-speed unit that's teamed to the up-level 230 horsepower 3.2-litre V6 engine. Retaining the same first gear and making the top gear a little leggier and then splitting these two with 3 shifts instead of 2 would keep the engine in its sweet spot for more of its working life. No complaints with the Grand's all-wheel drive system. In the automatic set and forget mode, it does a good job of getting the power to the wheels that can put it to best use, and it does so without being intrusive. The back end of this Vitara has been quite well thought through for the most part. The spare tyre is accessible, and this washer wiper, well, it's a must. The problem lies right here, and it's with this door. It's hinged on the wrong side of the vehicle. If you've got a large box here that has to go curbside, you've got a long walk around the outside of the door. Now, if it were hinged on this side of the vehicle, the correct side, you do two good things. First of all, you eliminate the walk around the door, but more importantly, this door then becomes a barrier between you and the traffic that's driving by. Griping aside, the one thing that really does impress about the Grand Vitara is its overall quietness. The combination of the engine's overall refinement and better insulation and isolation cuts the interior noise level by 2 decibels when compared to the outgoing model. This may not sound like much, but it equates to a 30% drop in the engine, road and wind noise the drivers are subjected to when out for a jaunt. It is invariably the small things that do indeed make the bigger difference. Mechanically, the Grand Vitara has always been a pretty good vehicle. However, its interior let it down big time. This latest version addresses that in spades. You've got a choice of 2 engines, a very good all-wheel drive system, and an interior that is now easily the best in the segment. If you're in the market for this type of vehicle, make sure you take the Grand Vitara for a drive.
Michelin, a better way forward.
Today, we are presenting our latest innovation, the Michelin Energy Saver All-Season Tire, which encompasses the best of our GreenX technologies and symbolizes our most advanced fuel-saving technologies.
When automakers look for ways to boost gas mileage on their vehicles, they often look to the tires. With that in mind, Michelin held a press conference at this year's Detroit Auto Show to unveil its latest generation Energy Saver All-Season Tire.
The demand for fuel-efficient and low-emission vehicles is getting stronger and will continue well into the future. Michelin's focus is about anticipating consumer needs. The Energy Saver All-Season Tire was designed with this goal in mind.
In this case, it's really giving the consumers a low-energy tire, contributes significantly to reduce fuel consumption of the vehicle while maintaining the other attributes that consumers expect from a Michelin, like long-wearing tires, durability, and great ride and handling performance. We actually have a marking on the side of the tire that indicates a GreenX marking. It's a specific marking on all of our energy-efficient tires. So on this tire, you've got both the tire line name, Energy Saver All Season, and the GreenX marking, which indicates that it's a fuel-efficient tire.
In 1950, there were 50 million vehicles in the world. In 2000, there were 800 million vehicles. And by 2030, there will be an estimated 1.6 billion. Michelin's objective is clear. By the time the number of vehicles worldwide has doubled, Michelin will have reduced the fuel consumption of its tire by half.
Make sure you check out motoringtv.com along with catching programs you may have missed on TSN. We have now posted our nominees for top vehicles of 2009. We want you to vote, and we'll have your results and our results on the upcoming 1-hour Car of the Year special. All the details are at motoringtv.com.
What was it like?
Oh my God, I shouldn't have been text messaging and drinking coffee and surfing the internet all at the same time. Thank God for Volvo. Thank you XC60. Otherwise, I would have been in a heap of trouble.
When Hyundai first came to North America, its first car was the Pony, and it was cheap, well below $10,000. Even my dad owned one, but it wasn't reliable. And ever since then, Hyundai just wishes that guys like me would stop talking about the Pony. But here's a little bit of trivia. 2008 was Hyundai's best year as far as sales go in this country, about 80,000 vehicles. Well, guess what their second best year was? It was 1985. They sold just over 79,000 Ponies. Sounds like a success story to me. All right, let's head to the Quaker State Garage and join Bill Gardner.
Yeah, Brad, I remember the mid-'80s working on lots of ponies. At least they were easy to fix because you were fixing them lots. Anyhow, in the wintertime, if it wasn't for adding a splash of washer fluid, I'm thinking that a whole lot of us would probably never open the hood from November till April. Now, when you're underneath the hood of your vehicle in the wintertime, there's other things you should be looking for because the winter's definitely the hardest time on your vehicle. You want to take stock of a few things while you're under that hood. Now, there's a couple of problems that happen in the wintertime that are absolutely unavoidable in our climate. Oil dilution and oil contamination. Now, dilution happens when you cold start the engine and you get a little bit of raw fuel actually diluting or dissolving into the oil. Now, the engine has provisions to take care of this, primarily the PCV system or positive crankcase ventilation valve. When the oil temperature gets high enough in that engine, any fuel that's being diluted into the oil turns into a vapor and gets drafted up or drawn out by the PCV valve. But eventually, when these heating and cooling cycles happen enough times, you have contaminated the oil, and that's one of the main reasons why car manufacturers require more frequent oil change intervals in low temperature driving. So consult your owner's manual. You'll find that it's usually about 3,000 kilometers tighter interval in cold winter driving. Now, there's other things to take care of too. You want to make sure that you don't have any oil contamination. Easy way to check for that is just take off the oil filler cap off your vehicle and look at the underside. The underside of this oil filler cap on your vehicle often tells a story. A few drops of moisture like this one has, not uncommon in the wintertime, but if you see a big buildup or a lot of sludge under here that's colored like your engine coolant, you want to suspect gasket failure. You also want to make sure that you're using the right grade of oil for winter starting your vehicle. For this particular GM light truck, 5W30 is the oil of choice. But your vehicle might be different. It might call for a 5W20 or even a 0W20 synthetic. Now, there's even further advantages you can get in the motor oil department too, and that's by using a synthetic blend like this particular oil or a full synthetic motor oil. And interestingly enough, in Western Canada, I know a lube shop chain out in Manitoba that has a program called Start, Go, or We Pay the Tow. And basically, if you're using synthetic or synthetic blend motor oils, they guarantee the car will start even if you don't plug the block heater in, and if it won't, they'll pay for the tow, bring it back to the shop, and get it going for you. Those guys in Western Canada, by the way, know all the tricks for winter starting cars. We thought we had it cold here. We just had a week of minus 20. They get a week of minus 40, and they're still firing up those vehicles and getting them going by using special blends of motor oils, block heaters, and all the other winter tricks. Till next week, I'm Bill Gardner for Motoring 2009.
You know, we unveiled this concept car last fall at the Paris Auto Show. The public reaction in Paris was positive, and I'm happy to announce that the Chevrolet Orlando is officially going into production. I'm even happier to announce that the Orlando will be in Chevrolet showrooms starting in 2011.
Well, this vehicle here is very interesting. You know, we do product development everywhere around the world, and this vehicle was actually designed in Asia. Just last year I came back from an assignment in Asia developing this and many other products for General Motors. That global appearance really comes out in this vehicle in that it's very compact, but there's a lot of other, I'll say, European and Asian MPVs, 7-seat MPVs that are along these sides. But because it's a Chevrolet, and we wanted it to have a little more of a tough, durable look, so it may be an MPV, but it doesn't look like a little van. It serves those needs, but it looks tougher, it looks more capable, and it's far more of a style statement than just a pragmatic statement.
Closed captioning on Motoring 2009 is brought to you by the 2009 Chevrolet Traverse Crossover. It's everything you've ever wished for, and then some.
You know things are tough in the car business when dealers are giving cars away. Well, not exactly giving cars away, but a couple of them are doing a 2-for-1 deal. You buy a pickup truck in the States and there's a dealer down in Florida that'll give you a free subcompact. And even in Burlington, Ontario, there was a Hyundai dealer did the same thing. Buy an Entourage minivan, you get a free accent. Well, free, I'm always a bit nervous when I hear that word. The deal is you pay full manufacturer suggested retail price for the minivan and the accent is tossed in. Well, the fact is there's huge incentives on the Entourage anyway, so if you bought it for cash, you'd pay less than the MSRP equivalent to the value of the accent. Sure, you do get two vehicles, but you're not in fact saving all that much money compared to what you could do if you bought them for cash. But it's a good marketing gimmick. What's in it for the dealer? Well, they pay floor planning interest to the banks for every vehicle that's in inventory. If they can get those vehicles out on the road, they not only get the cars out there, they get out from underneath the bank, and that's always a good idea. But you know, this isn't all that new an idea. Back in the good old days, there was a Mercury dealer near where my high school used to be. If you bought a Lincoln, they'd give you a free Mercury Bobcat. Now, if you don't remember the Bobcat, you're probably lucky. It was the Mercury version of the Pinto. So, yes, these are desperate times. They do call for desperate measures, but you know what? It does mean that it's probably the best time ever to buy a new car. I'm Jim Kenton.
The new Elantra Touring is the 11th nameplate in the Hyundai lineup. With the exception of a pickup truck, this company now has all the bases covered. And I believe the Touring will be another home run. And there's lots of talk about hybrid vehicles, but you know what? Bring the price of gas up, and cars like these are simply the future. I mean, they're small, lots of room inside, they've got a clean, efficient engine, and they look great. And as Steve Kelleher said earlier, we're getting aggressive in this company. We're going to fight for every customer. Well, you know what? This Elantra Touring will make that fight a little easier. That's it for now. We'll see you next time out as we continue to bring you more stories about cars and the people who drive them.
You might want to catch next week's Motoring as there's two lovely ladies, a car in drapes, and yours truly in a dicky bow, as we present Motoring's 2009 Car of the Year special. It's going to be great to watch, right, girls?
You're so good, Gran.
Motoring 2009 on TSN has been brought to you by the new Q Horsepower from Quaker State. Unleash all your horses. And Michelin, a better way forward.